had said he was going to implement as soon as he made declaration about subsidy removal being gone and everything. So all of that put together, you would also consider the Gerugu Power, PLC, which is also an initiative that is aimed to support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's power sector reform by investing about $550 million to expand its power generation capacity to about 1,300 megawatts. And then, yet the transition to electric vehicles faces hurdles due to the energy crisis and lack of infrastructure. Now, highlighting the need for some substantial investment in electricity generation and also charging, infrastructure. Meanwhile, the federal government is planned to remove electricity subsidies and implement a 200 tariff hike as part of the 2024 multi-year tariff order, that is the MYTO, and that is to address financial challenges in the power sector. But then we'll be joined with our guest who's joining us via phone call, and he's in the person of Mr. Agaba Wilson, right? Mr. Agaba Wilson will be joining us in the conversation. Agaba Wilson, and he has a portfolio. His portfolio is the business, financial consultant, and public affairs, analyst, right? And we'll be having that conversation today with the topic Nigeria power sector concerns. Nigeria power sector concerns. That is what it would be for today. But then let's also look at while we're getting to put that together, let's look at the place of some of the critical questions and concerns. I mean, there are critical questions, there are concerns, that quite a number of, people, a number of Nigerians are looking at. And one of such would be, the issue that borders around affordability and reliability of electricity amidst gas price hikes. And then another concern is the place of disconnect between revenue generation surge and power service delivery, right? And effectiveness of regulatory sanctions, in improving billing practices is yet another area of concern right there. And of course, the impact of the Gerugu Power's investment on power supply improvement and all. But many have also shared the concern of, look, you would only consolidate on something that is already working, right? You would only consolidate on something that is already working. If that thing is not working, then how then do you consolidate on it by saying that you are looking at removing subsidy on it? We're talking about, the electricity or the power sector, if you like. Yeah. And so you only get involved with that when you have something that is working. If it is not working, what are you consolidating on, right? And that's been the issue. So if we don't have power supply at this point in time, we cannot boast of having power, right? To power our businesses, to power, our respective industries and all of that, even to also power the small and medium scale enterprises and all. How then can we reliably say that if this parley is indeed reached, that it would indeed bring forth the necessary or the developments, the positives that we have wanted to see in the power sector? And that's always been the fear, right? So it's one thing to say in that you are planning to remove electricity subsidies and to implement a 200 tariff hike as part of the 2024 multi-year tariff order. But it's another thing to also look at whether or not this product or this service from which you want to refrain the subsidy, is available. Now, many have had shared thoughts that Nigerians are not complaining or would not complain should there be power supply, right? At least, maybe not 24 hours. If we could have just had, even if it was, 20 hours, let's even start with 20 hours, yeah? And you say that we should pay a certain amount of monies. Well, then Nigerians may not really have a problem, getting involved with that. But then when you also look at the situation that we are going through at a time like this, where we have to grapple with insecurity issues, economic woes here and there, it also brings to the question of whether or not this is the right time, to initiate, these kinds of innovation. But then we're joined by our guest, Mr. Agaba, Wilson Agaba. Good morning to you, Mr. Agaba. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
That's right. Feels good to have you on the Eagles Outlook today, Mr. Agaba. Right? Well, it's no news anymore. I mean, there's an ongoing plan by the federal government to remove electricity subsidies and implement a 200 tariff hike as part of the 2024 multi-year tariff order, that is the MYTO, and they're looking at addressing financial challenges in the power sector should they do so. But despite this persistent power supply challenges and sporadic grid collapses, which of course we've had for the fourth time in Nigeria so far, it seems as though the discos are already raking monies to the tune of 1.1 trillion naira, and that was in 2023, right? But then again, the rise in revenue coincided with the ongoing challenges in the power sector, including the increased gas price and delays in implementing the electric vehicle initiatives. If you also recall that sometime last year when the president said the subsidy was gone, done and dusted, one of those efforts that he said he was going to put together was to bring about electric powered buses and cars, and that it will help to ameliorate the impact of the subsidy removal. But when you put all of these together, for you, what does it portend? What comes to mind?
Well, as much as I would like to say that the removal of power subsidy is also a step in the right direction, I would want to also look at the part of the masses.
Right.
What would life look like for them? Because in the beginning of this administration, I faulted two major policies of the administration, and I still stand my ground as we speak today. Number one, the removal of fuel subsidy from Eagle Square for me was a bad idea.
Right.
It was a step at best described as a not well thought out step.
Okay.
Because removal of fuel subsidy without first attaining sufficient local refining would be a serious problem. Because it's at the fabric of every economic activities in this country, ranging from transportation to power generation. The public power is not okay, so we have to resort to generator most of the time, both in our homes and in our offices. This goes into the cost of production and as well the price of the goods and services that are sold in the market. And as if that is not enough, the president went ahead to float the naira, which in a way will free revenue and forex to the government, but will make things more difficult for the wider society. And you could see that had a drastic impact on the price of fuel.
Right.
Because if, let's suppose that a liter of fuel used to land at $1 and then it was selling at 450 naira in Nigeria, by the time you float the naira and the naira becomes 1,500, it means a liter of fuel that lands in Nigeria should sell for 1,500.
Right.
And then we went back to subsidy. We are now talking about removal of power subsidy again, without first fixing the real issues in the distribution sector. Let's take, for instance, how many of the houses in Nigeria today are metered? We are talking about growth in revenue by the power distribution company, whereas there is no commensurate rate of power supply. Mm-hmm. It means that people are being overbilled for the power they are not even supplied. And people are being forced to pay through their quote and unquote effective revenue collection method. So now the first thing we need to do in trying to remove this subsidy, because I believe that it should be removed, because it is a subsidy that's there that makes the distribution company not want to make any innovative effort to increase their distribution. Then, for instance, you are the owner of the business, you know that at the end of the month you will go and submit a bill to the government, and the government that you have supplied XYZ amount of power, and the government is going to give you the subsidy quotient of it. Would you make any effort to supply that power? You won't, because if you make no effort, the subsidy that comes to you becomes a profit for you, and you can continue to do that.
But where's
Why
the place?
Put money into the system?
Yeah, where's the place of integrity? I mean, Nigeria's power grid has collapsed 46 times from 2017 to 2023, and that has led to nationwide blackouts, which is notably on September 14, 2023, due to a transmission line fire, right? And then there has also been some talk about regulatory sanctions, where the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has imposed fines totaling 10.5 billion naira discos for overbilling and non-compliance with billing regulations. So if we're saying that these companies are saying that, okay, we would not put in our utmost, in ensuring that power gets to Nigerian homes and businesses, Nigerians are saying that even when the subsidy is being removed, we guaranteed. Can we say that indeed we'll begin to see, a better development, a better power, development for Nigerians at a time like this? That's what we are saying.
You see, like I was saying, we need to put the horse before the cart. Otherwise, every effort we make will be in futility. We cannot solve the issue of sanctioning when we can't actually prevent what they are doing. Okay. What we need to do is to first of all prevent the discos from overbilling, which is enforce the metering of every home. And there's a lot of shady business around the metering. Last year there was a certain individual who is an expert in this meter that came to my inbox on social media, and he was giving me evidences to show that this meter, the one-phase meter that is now currently being sold at above 80,000 naira, and the three-phase meter that is currently sold above 100,000, that they could actually both be sold below 40,000 naira. In fact, he made a case that the single-phase meter could be sold below 20,000, and the three-phase meter could be sold below 40,000 naira, and that it is the equivalent of this